Hi, I am Gabriel Chauri and this is Game Design Thinking. In this video, we are going to explore the latest boom in the game industry from a design perspective. Specifically, we are going to analyze how decisions are fun to make in Among Us and why players keep playing for hours and always find the game fun and fresh. Also, if you want, you will find a one-page PDF summary of the information in this video. If you were on planet Earth in the last few months, you have experienced two of the most weird events in the last few years. The first is, well, you know the first. The other is the rise to the top of a relatively unknown game, with a solid but modest player base. So, how was that Among Us rise to the top and was able to create and, more importantly, maintain a huge player base? Among Us is part of a game genre called secret role games, in which all players are basically the same except for one or several of them that are pushing against the main objective. This puts some players in a role that is unusual in many games, the role of the antagonist. And also, because these games are by their nature played in multiplayer, they have to basically lie and push against their friends and relatives. It's basically another type of not safe for work game. It draws inspiration from games like Mafia, where players that are Mafia eliminates non-Mafia players, while these try to identify them, with the drawback that eliminated players got nothing to do in the meantime. And this is a major problem in many hidden role games. When the good guys are eliminated in some way, they have no decision to make that can influence the outcome of the match. You can see this in games like Project Winter or Town of Salem. So, to analyze how decisions keep players engaged, we will use the 6 heuristics proposed by Brian Upton in his book The Aesthetic of Play. Brian Upton is a veteran of the industry, with more than 20 years of experience in titles like Rainbow Six and Ghost Recon. This heuristic will allow us to dissect the different decisions that players make in Among Us and how they are one of the secrets of its success. First, Upton proposes to measure the player's decision in horizons of action and horizons of intent. Horizons of action are the possible decisions offered by the system of the game to the players, while horizons of intent are the actions that players think that they can achieve. These horizons don't always overlap, due to players wanting to do things inside the game that are not supported by the system of it. The more they overlap, the better, but full overlapping is not desirable either, because this difference gives players the chance to learn the mechanics of the game by experimenting with the system of it. To better understand this, think of the first time you played Among Us. If you had no previous idea of how to play the game and you were the imposter, you probably tried to do the normal tasks to dissimulate better, but soon discovered that you can't. This is your horizon of intent, your idea of what you can do in the game, clashing with what you can really do. This is the moment when most players learn that they can't do those tasks. So, you learn directly while interacting with the systems of the game, not by some block of text or by an annoying fairy. To measure the horizon of intent, according to Brian Upton, we have to take into account the following. Choice is defined by the number of options offered to players. More options are not equal to a better game. Most games just need the right amount of choices depending on the type of gameplay that players expect to encounter. For example, you can easily tell that in a complex game like Civilization or Magic the Gathering, you have more choices available than in Fall Guys. In Among Us, players have a narrow set of choices. They basically can do the tasks given to them, talk, and vote for the imposter. For example, more choices can be added if players could choose their tasks at the start of the game, but this will probably not add much to a party game experience that allows fast replayability. When players are presented with similar choices that they already have made before, they will tend to use the same strategy that worked for them. Thus, they will experience a narrow part of the total experience of the game. One of the ways to ensure variety is through elegance and robustness. An elegant game adds a lot of variety using a small rule set, like chess. 2 games of chess will never be the same. Robustness refers to getting rid of one-off rules that just add noise to the player's decision. Among Us solves this by having the minimal set of rules. You just need to interact with the objects in the map that are part of your mission. You can interact with some general objects, and that's it. Another point that adds variety in Among Us is that it is a multiplayer game, adding basically infinite variety. But for this, the other players must be able to make decisions that really affect the system of the game or other players' decisions. That's why Fall Guys is losing its players in rapid succession. The decisions that players make in Fall Guys are dictated mainly by the level design, and the decisions of other players don't affect them too much. In the same line, players' decisions need to have consequences in the system of the game. More importantly, the changes must be communicated to the player. In Among Us, each time you complete a mission, the text goes green, and the same goes for the imposter. Each time you sabotage the chip, there will be a clear indicator of it. Most importantly, each room that you enter and path you take in Among Us can be a decision full of consequences. You can find a body, or you can become one. The players must have the ability to predict the outcomes of their decisions, at least to a certain degree. The more expert the player, the more predictable the outcome becomes. In a party game like Among Us, you can easily predict the outcome of your decisions. More importantly, players know the amount of imposters at the start of the game, so they know what they are looking for. This gives players the opportunity to plan ahead and test their preconceptions. But a completely predictable game is boring. So boring. That's why you need to spice things up with a little uncertainty. In Among Us, players can predict the outcomes of their decisions, especially short-term decisions. But long-term decisions live in a shadow. That's why the uncertainty of not knowing who the imposter is a huge motivator for players of Among Us. The game uses 3 types of uncertainty as defined by Brian Upton. Random generation, because the imposter is chosen randomly, so no player can predict in advance who the imposter will be. The hidden information element is one of the most important characteristics that define the game. Players don't know each other's missions, and obviously, they don't know which one of them is the imposter. Finally, Among Us includes the greater uncertainty factor: other players. And perhaps the most important but often overlooked metric is how satisfactory and desirable are the outcomes for players. Games have a thin line dividing frustration, boredom, confusion, and satisfaction. Too many decisions and the players get confused, but a lack of them just generates boredom. One of the main differences in why it is so satisfactory to play Among Us is that when a player is killed, they still have to complete their missions and can communicate with other assassinated players. Also, the right amount of uncertainty and predictability generate satisfaction, while too much of one or the other leads the player to a point of frustration, to just exit the game and never play again. So, remember to take into account choice, variety, consequences, predictability, uncertainty, and satisfaction, and you are one step ahead to create a better game for your players. Now, as promised, in the video description you will find the one-page PDF summary of this video, so you can recall the information easily. Thank you for watching the whole video. I hope that this helps you in your current or future games. If you want more content like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, you can follow me on Instagram for more about game design. Thank you, and have a nice day.